Esports. What can I even say? It's such a big part of life for some and practically non-existent for others. For me, personally, it's quite the big thing, yet I can't seem to find a way to explain it or reason it out to people who just don't see why it could possibly be important. Going through this documentary, I'm hoping to finalize what it means to me and hopefully have any of you out there, player or not, to understand where I'm coming from when I say I love this game.
My name is Eric Barton.
My name is Brolin Catalyst Mailing.
Bob Lund-Coles.
Hi, my name is Dax. I go by Cardos as my tag.
I'm 22 years old.
I'm 15 years old.
I'm 15 years old.
It's really helped me grow as a person because I've grown up with social anxiety. I've had a hard time really talking to people I don't know because, don't have anything in common, but this, finding this group of people, it's, we all like this game. It's a good common ground, so I've been making lots of friends and trying to better myself.
It gives me something to strive for every week and it gives me goals to achieve and stuff like that. So it means a lot to me.
I just find it to be really fun. I don't have a lot other to do, really. A lot of my friends play sports, so I just kind of go home and play video games, and this is the video game that I play a lot.
Initially, I got into Smash 64, was the first game I started playing. It was around the time of FGX, when I was just me and my brother played the game a lot as kids, a lot. And we kind of discovered the whole cheesy Kirby things you could do with down air up tilt combos. And after that, so I was at FGX, played friendlies with a couple people who were hey, you should start coming out to our weeklies. Every once in a while we run Smash 64 events. And that was the first time. And then I went to, my first weekly was one of the original weeklies, and I placed third. So right off the bat, I was pretty big into 64. And then from there, my friends got me into Melee, and then when Smash 4 came out, naturally I picked it up. Not as competitively, but I still play it.
We're all kind of one big family, and despite it being a competitive thing, we all have a certain level of respect for each other, and I think it's really cool how we all just bond over our love for the game.
I like it when people know who I am. If I go to a tournament like this one, and people know who I am, that makes me want to play better. It makes me feel I can't let these people down.
I think if we're gonna say of what I think is the community as a whole, I think it's a very tight-knit community, which is something I really appreciate about Smash. Because the beauty of Smash is it's not like your other traditional esport. Esports in its own are mostly online play. So if you have your League of Legends, you have your Dota, you have your Counter-Strike, where if you want to get good at the game, you can just sit down at your computer in your basement all day and grind out hours upon hours of practicing. But if you want to play Smash, you need a friend. So obviously, if you go to the top level in the way that they treat each other, you have your Leffins and your Westballs and the people who are openly more aggressive when it comes to shit talk and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's a pretty kind community because if you're gonna play with someone, they're sitting 2 feet beside you. You're not gonna go talk shit about them. They're right there. They can just punch you out. As someone who deals with mental illnesses, it's given me an outlet of something I can go back to, something I can take my mind off of stress and all those things. And I don't know, it's given me, in a weird way, it's given me a sense of belonging in this strange, tight-knit grassroots community.
My personal competitive game series, as well as the people being featured within this, is Super Smash Bros. But to these people, it isn't just a game. Yes, for some it may just be a hobby, but for others it can be much more than that. For some, it's their whole life and they play it to live, while others, it's like stories, with drama behind every game, highs and lows, and with each player having their own drive and motivation for wanting to win so badly. Everyone has their own protagonists and antagonists within the community that they root for or against, respectively. I think the best way to explain what it is exactly is to relate it to something many more understand, and that's sports. As the name entails, esports is electronic sports, where people have honed their mind, coordination, and body, well, for the most part, hands, to be able to play at a high enough level to make a living or just even side money off of it. In sports, you do the exact same thing with honing your skills and body to fit the parameters that are required for your sport. Who knows, maybe you're already a fan of Smash or even other esports, and you already know how I feel. And maybe this is just what you need to explain to your friends and or parents why you have such a love for a game. Or maybe you don't give a crap about esports and you're a sports fan. Who knows? Not me, obviously, but that's besides the point. Let's just get into it. A big thing about these video games that are played competitively is that there are always exploits that you can use to your advantage to play a game well. And that's exactly what separates competitive gaming from casual. Like, if you think about it, in games there's always a set amount of things that you can do. But in real life, you have been told not to and have agreed to it. It's the difference that makes you have to play around these specifications, since in sport you can do anything that isn't taken out of play by the rules. But in video games, you're confined to what the makers have allowed you to do. Going back to the root of this tangent, exploits change what the makers have allowed you to do. For example, in Super Smash Bros. Melee, things like wave dashing and dash dancing give characters more optimal movement options. These, along with perfect pivoting, among other techniques, are things that the system isn't able to stop you from doing, but they weren't put there deliberately by Nintendo. While something like shield dropping is there for a reason. People who don't play might not understand how much skill it takes to actually execute these techniques continuously, especially since it's not really something the game wants you to do. But let me tell you, it takes quite a bit. I personally still have troubles with them. All these things are done from discovery. None of them have any hacking involved, and they are just showing what the system is capable of doing. Sometimes it's just simply amazing. Super Smash Bros. Is such a creative fighting game with an assortment of techniques that allows you to make a character your own, or maybe even be a staple of that character. The fact that we have techniques named after certain players, and certain players pop into your mind when you say the name of a character, is just simply proof of that. There's a reason why we call this hack stashing. And then we have wobbling, scar jumping, the ally combo, and of course, the extremely well-known Ken combo. This community is quite amazing, honestly. We even have people that we call the 5 gods of Melee, which are Armada, Mango, PPMD, Hungrybox, and of course, Mewtwo King. This community is quite amazing, honestly. We even have people that are so good that we call them the 5 gods of Melee. They are Armada, Mango, PPMD, Hungrybox, and of course, Mewtwo King, who is the main focus of the Real Smash Bros. Documentary, which is ungodly long for a documentary, clocking in at 4 hours and 18 minutes. Taking a game or even a stock versus one of these guys is considered a life achievement, as they are the best in the business. The Smash community has these things where we group together all the characters into a list that shows their viability to win a tournament. And these lists have changed many a time during the years. These ones can win tournaments, these ones you can maybe win or do something with, and these guys, no one really tries anymore. They're just kinda there. There is, however, that small minority that still plays characters, like Mewtwo, Game & Watch, and Roy. But there's another character that used to be quite low in the tier list too. But he was brought up by a player from Japan in mid-2014. That's right, all you Smash players. I'm in fact talking about Amsa, the Red Yoshi. The player that so many other Smash documentary makers have probably used as an example, but I really don't blame them. It's such an amazing upset that definitely changed the Smash community for the better. So it all started on July 5th, when a small-time Yoshi player from Japan came to play at Kings of Cali 4. And people did know of him since he had gotten some pretty good results before, but people just brushed him off as a gimmick player. Well, people started to notice him a bit more when he got to top 8 winners quarters against M2K. Mewtwo King, who was playing Sheik at this point in the set, took game 1, which really didn't surprise anyone. But something happened during the next game, and Amsa actually took game 2. The crowd was understandably ecstatic, and you have to realize how impressive this is considering Yoshi's placement on the tier list and how amazingly godlike the 5 gods are at this game. Like hell, you have Mewtwo King, one of the best players at this game, versus Amsa, a new up-and-coming player who plays Yoshi of all characters. However, Amsa did have one huge advantage on his side. If you look at the tier list that was out at the time, just think about how many competitive level Fox, Falco, Marth, and Sheiks you would fight. Almost every set you would have would be one of those. But for Mewtwo King, how many competitive level Yoshis do you think you fought? The simple answer is none. There aren't any high level Yoshi players like Amsa, and that's such a valuable thing to have. But it's also such a hard thing to achieve. To play a character like Yoshi at a high level is so difficult that you would need to practice that every day and nothing but that. To steal another comparison from a great short doc that I love, because apparently finding sports-related metaphors is impossible, to play Yoshi at such a high level is like to pitch a knuckleball. Some of you may know that a knuckleball is one of the hardest pitches to throw, but it's also the most unpredictable. To throw one properly, you have to practice nothing but throwing knuckleballs. And when you finally get the chance to throw it, no one will be able to hit it, as they've probably never practiced hitting a knuckleball, since no one even throws them. Winning at Smash Bros. Isn't just about playing a character and playing them well. It's also largely focused on you knowing your matchups, and what your opponent is going to do and when they are going to do it, so you can respond optimally. So, going back to the game, Amsa continues to dominate in Game 3 of the set, with the crowd going absolutely crazy. So now Amsa is up 2-1 over Mewtwo King, and the crowd is cheering for the underdog here. As you can see, Mewtwo King doesn't really seem to be enjoying this too much. He has said on many occasions that when he's feeling crappy or the crowd's against him, he plays much, much worse, as he's a very emotional player. Some think it's true, and others feel it's just an excuse. I personally, from what I've seen, think it's very true. The stakes are high, as the loser goes to loser's bracket, and everyone feels the tension, so Mewtwo King makes a switch to Fox, who is arguably the best character in the game, and this really says something. Here is where the theory of 20XX comes into play. For those of you who don't know, 20XX is a theory/joke that everyone in Melee will eventually switch to Fox and master him to a point where matches are won based on controller port priority. And as ridiculous as it sounds, it really isn't too far-fetched. Many players have either switched to Fox entirely or picked him up as a secondary to counter any bad matchups they happen to have. I think one of the biggest cases is with the old god of Falcon, Hax Money, the same person that the aforementioned Hax Dashing was named after. He used to be the most prominent representative of the character, and then out of nowhere he dropped him for Fox, and claims to this day that Falcon can't do anything useful or viable in tournament. Fox is such a hard character to play, but if you have to go up against a well-played Fox, then you're pretty screwed. The downright brokenness and unbalanced play of Fox, as Melee was never really balanced for competitive play, versus such an odd, wacky, unbeknownst character like Yoshi, is what's amazing and unique about this game, especially in comparison to traditional fighting games like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. And if Smash were to become nothing but Fox Ditto upon Fox Ditto, I would have to say that I would unfortunately lose interest in my favorite game franchise. Having such a wacky, unbeknownst character beat such a sound, safe character is what really makes my love for this game blossom and thrive. Trying to explain why I love this game has been such a hard thing to do over the years that I've played it, and even this, I feel, doesn't really do it justice. I freaking love this game, and if you still don't care about it, then that's alright. I can see why it can be unappealing, but my goal with this video was not to try to force you to fall in love with Smash like I have. It was to show how someone could even have passion for a game so silly, or even have fun with it, laugh at it, or even see how amazingly and bizarrely complex it can be. With nothing left in my mind to say, this is why I love Smash Bros.